I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking about she gave me a disease and she left for someone else.
We're going to have lots to talk about in this video, so please pay attention and listen in.
Yeah, you know, dating can be dangerous for your health. And a lot of times we don't think about that. You know, when you meet somebody new and you like them, you kind of, in many cases, just assume they have good intentions and that they're a good person and they have integrity and they're looking out for your best interest. But it takes time to really get to know that with somebody. And so many times we get caught up in the heat of the moment and we don't use protection and we put ourselves at risk. So you always want to consider that when you're dating, especially, you know, if you're not in a committed relationship, you're still getting to know somebody, you don't know how trustworthy they are. Now, sometimes people are married for many, many years, their partner cheats, and they bring home an STD. Mm-hmm. So things like that do happen. And unfortunately, we find ourselves vulnerable with people that we care about.
Right, and not everyone is going to be fully transparent with you. You know, it is really important that you reveal your STI status with whoever you plan on engaging with sexually. Now, this comes with the territory of trusting someone with your health, trusting someone with your body. You know, if there is something that is important to tell your partner, you know, use your discretion and have those important but tough conversations. It's really important for consent. You know, somebody needs to know what they're signing up for before they engage in sexual activity with you. So Transparency is really huge. And sometimes people don't know their status.
That's true.
So it's also important to have that personal responsibility, keep up with your own health, you know, take the tests that you need to take in order to know where you stand and get treatments that you need.
Yeah. You just have to be careful because some people are so selfish that if they want some intimacy, they're not going to tell you because they know you may not want it and you might reject them. So please be careful. So I got an email coaching that we're going to talk about today that kind of talks about some of the stuff we're talking about right now. They said, "Dear Coach Craig, thank you. You are really being a lifesaver. He's in his mid-30s and she's in her later 20s. They've been together for a couple of years, and he said at the beginning, she told me that a few months before we met, she went to a swingers club. This affected me deeply. With time, I got over it." It was funny, I was doing one of my shows recently, and I was talking to people from the stage, and they said that on their first date, they went to a swingers club together.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
Well, that went for some interesting material that night, and the show was pretty funny after that.
I can already think of all the jokes.
Yeah.
None of which are appropriate to say.
So I was surprised. I was like, wow, a first date?
Wow.
How do you top that?
That's pretty bold.
Yeah. All right. They said, after we started dating, she was diagnosed with an STD, which is a sexually transmitted disease.
And I think now is a really good moment for some education tidbits. So
now, we're not doctors.
We are not doctors.
We're not doctors.
We are not doctors. Just want to be clear about that.
We're not giving medical advice.
No, please don't receive anything from this video as medical advice. Of course, go to your local medical practitioner, your local doctor, your PCP, whoever to get that information. with that said, now the more common term is STI, which is sexually transmitted infection, and that's because of the stigma that's related with the term disease, and also because infection more accurately describes some of these things. So I just want to be clear about that.
Okay. I have also been infected by this disease from her, and we are still infected.
Another thing I want to say too is about window periods. So she had gone to the swingers club, it sounds like months before they even started dating. Some STIs don't show up on tests until a certain period of time. So it's not like you can have sex with somebody who's infected and then the next day it will show up on a test. There is a window period. So guys, please educate yourself on these things. Make sure that when you do get testing for yourself to know your status, that it is as accurate as it can be. And just be aware. If there's a window period, just be educated on these things to know your risk.
We're not doctors.
We're not doctors. But this is information that I really think should be out there and should be talked about more. Because a lot of times things get missed and then you end up in sticky situations that could be avoided.
There were certain situations and actions by my part that left her feeling discomfort and guilt. And I would guess he probably got really upset when he got it. Maybe he got angry at her, blamed her, was really emotional, and so she felt bad about that, right? I would guess something like that happened. I've seen stuff like that play out before. Mostly, we had a loving, supportive, and fun relationship. I tried to support her as much as I can, but I realized that I have certain avoidant personality traits. My attitude could have been better. In the spring, she decided to end the relationship because of her feeling insecure. She felt inferior and felt like a virus to me. And so, what does that mean when you think about it? For me, it's like, okay, she felt like a virus because it was like she, in a way, felt so bad about giving him this virus that she feels like the virus itself. Like, I feel bad, I feel gross, I don't like who I am, I had this virus now, I gave it to you, and now I feel like a virus to you. Right? It's kind of like emotional,
Yeah, and there is a lot of feelings of shame that can come about from this type of situation. I think in society in general, STIs isn't talked enough about. I think we are getting better in this generation to get that information out there and really talk about the actual health implications. But there is a lot of stigma. A lot of times people associate STIs with someone being dirty or, somebody, having a ton of sexual encounters. And there's so many different myths out there about what it means to have an STI. So I can imagine, they're struggling with this feeling of, okay, there's something in my body that's happening. It's really confusing. I don't know what this means about me. I don't know what this means about our relationship.
Yeah, all good things to think about. He goes on to say, she suffers from chronic depression. And there's often a guilt in a depression too. So that could have been, kind of together. You know what I mean? Like unconsciously all mixed in together with what's bothering her. I was devastated, begged, sent her flowers, etc. After a few weeks, we came back together. We stopped having intimate relations because of the STD. We haven't seen each other a lot lately due to work. We had planned to move to another country. She was sure about it. She even talked about children weeks before the breakup.
I want to talk about this for a second too. The fact that this couple had stopped engaging in intimacy because of the STD. Now, this could be for a couple reasons that I can think of. One is that there is a high risk of reinfection if both you and your partner test positive for certain STIs. So keep that in mind. The both of you need to be treated and not engage sexually in order for those things to heal properly. I'm not a doctor. Okay?
Not a doctor.
Not a doctor. So I want to reiterate that again. And the other reason is what I was saying earlier, that shame component. A lot of times there can be your sex life, your sex drive, all of these things, your libido, all of these things are affected by having an STI or can be. So wanted to bring that up too. I wonder what the reason was there.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know which one it was. He did not tell me. I just want to make that clear. We really have no idea which one it was. It might have been more helpful. We could have done a little bit more research ahead of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Early in the fall, she wasn't so sure about moving on to another country because of a work offer that we had contemplated before. I said that I felt disappointed. I also told her that I understood her decision and that I was not angry with her. We went home apparently fine. Shortly after, she asked me for a time to think. When we talked, I begged, tried to convince her, and did the grand gesture twice. LOL. That's what he put.
Yeah.
LOL twice.
And I can imagine that going through this entire experience together probably challenged their relationship a lot, but I wonder if on some level it made them feel closer to. Like, this person understands what I'm going through because they also, have been diagnosed with this thing. So I wonder how that affected their relationship dynamics.
Something to think about. It doesn't really come up so far. She told me that she was exhausted, fearful that it will be the same, and wanted to end the relationship even though she knows she might be wrong. That I was a fantastic person and that she felt bad about someone else taking the best version of myself. So there's some of that guilt. She said she loves me but had to love herself more, and that she had met someone else. So for me, that's the real big issue here.
Yeah.
She met someone else and she was more interested in seeing where that was going. So now this poor guy is getting discarded here, which often happens. But I would think it would be even more hurtful in this situation like this, where you've gone through an STD with that person, and it's been a lot on you, a lot on the relationship, and now you're feeling like you're abandoned and going through it by yourself.
Yeah. And I'm also curious still about, her going to the swinger club months earlier. Is that something that she engages in often? Is it something that she wants to be a part of her relationship? What was the context of that? I wish we had more information on that too, because I wonder if this was, meeting someone else, and it's something that she wants to engage in, is meeting other people. I'm not sure. I don't know.
That's a good point. Days after, I was told that my problem with the STD had worsened. I told her. She was mad and said that it would make her feel even worse. I really don't like that response, because it's like no empathy, no compassion. It's like, oh, well, now you're making me feel even worse, as opposed to what he's going through, which is the situation is worse for him and his health.
Yeah.
She couldn't come support me because she had plans. And that I have other people to share things in a very cold way. I don't think English is his first language. I said, okay, and didn't reach out again. Days later, she contacted me, apologizing and offering her help as a moral support for whatever I needed and to come with me to the hospital. I thanked her, but refused. She has been contacting me repeatedly, telling me that if I need her, she is there for whatever I want. Go for a coffee, walk, etc. See, I get the feeling like she's like, okay, now I feel bad. He's struggling. I'll be there for you, but it's like as a friend, and that's probably making him feel more angry. Like, no, I don't want you to see me as a friend.
Yeah.
I want you to be there for me as my partner because you love me, because you want to fix this.
And this is hard because the timing of this all, when we're dealing with things like infections and things that are happening in our body, a lot of times we don't have a lot of control over that. It sounds like he's seeking the appropriate treatment and whatever he needs to do necessary to take care of it. But it worsening or getting better, these are things that it's not like he could really predict.
Yeah.
So the timing of him needing more support and her being done with the relationship is not a good combination at all.
Yeah, and we don't know which STD it might be, if it's treatable or if it's something
Right.
that he might have to live with. And so there could be an additional component of anger there too. You know, that now I have this forever. And, you know, when you're going through that, people feel a lot of hurt and anger about that too.
Yeah.
So we don't know what's going on there, but that could be a part of this as well. Let me go on. During this time, she was reacting more affectionately, sending a picture of her, reminding me of past moments or plans. Last week, she insisted many times that if I need anything, he keeps putting it in bold caps, to let her know. I answered, I appreciate it. I see that you keep repeating it. If you want to see me, you can tell me directly. I wouldn't mind seeing you if that's what you want. She told me that she was concerned about me, adding that I could call her if I needed it. Again, bold caps. But I didn't want to see her in person. After that point, she went colder again. Okay, I'm a little confused about the way he worded that. But I guess he didn't want to see her in person?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. I tried to seem as centered as I could and preferred not saying, I need you. I know that she's with the other guy. I regret my mistakes. I would really like to have another chance, although it's very unlikely. During the breakups, she never tried to talk about the problems. She goes from being the kindest person to goodbye. Did I do the right move by not telling her directly that I needed to see her? I don't want to show myself needy anymore. Well, I mean, in a situation like this, I could see why he's frustrated and upset, and I probably wouldn't want somebody to be taking me to the hospital and feel like I'm some kind of burden or obligation, or that you're wanting to take me out of guilt.
Right.
I want you to be there for me as my partner, and because you want to repair it, not because you just feel guilty about me struggling or suffering or whatever's going on.
And I think she had a very hard time setting up her boundaries. You know, it sounded like, and it said over and over again in all caps, need. You know, she was saying, well, I'll be there for you if you really need it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you know, I can't really be there for you. I'm trying to break up. So that's kind of what it seemed like to me. That's how I interpreted that, is her having a hard time saying, I don't want to completely abandon you and leave you alone with this problem that really we went through together and really wouldn't be here hadn't it been, you know, because of a little bit more of my diligence, perhaps.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably feeling more like an obligation or like, you know, some kind of guilt behind it more than she really wants to be a part of his life or anything like that. And he's picking up on it. And the idea of, you know, him seeing her dating another guy is going to be really upsetting him as well. So, you know, if I was in your shoes personally, I wouldn't be reaching out asking for trips to the hospital or whatever's going on there medically. I wouldn't ask for help either, because I wouldn't want to feel like you're only reaching out of guilt and not because you want to see me or you miss me, and we're not going to repair the connection.
And I'm hoping that he has enough support to be able to talk to his other, you know, support system and say, hey, you know, this is a time where I do need your help, and I hope he's vulnerable enough with them to share some of this stuff, and he feels safe with them in that way.
Yeah.
I know it is tough because it's not like you want to tell everybody. Some people are very private about these types of things. It is still highly stigmatized, and especially in certain areas. So, you know. Yeah,
it is tough. And, you know, especially because she was really cold about it in the beginning. It was like, you have other people you can talk to.
Yeah.
That was kind of rough.
Yeah.
You know? Like, basically, it felt to me like, I really want to go out and hang out with this other person that I'm excited about. I don't want to have to worry about you. And then she felt bad about it, and she's kind of trying to make amends or maybe do the right thing. But, you know, when somebody does that to you initially, it really stings. You're not going to let that go so easy.
Yeah, yeah. And if I were him, you know, I'd be thinking about that too, is seeing just her level of empathy for this situation. You know, and it's hard because I wonder if on her end she's thinking, have his symptoms really worsened, or is he using this as a way to draw me back in?
It's a good point.
So I could see her protectiveness, putting up that guard there and reiterating, if you need me, then call me, otherwise don't.
And there is the possibility that maybe he was trying to use it to make her feel guilty. We don't know. I mean, maybe it hadn't really worsened. Maybe he was looking for an excuse to reach out. We often look for excuses to reach out. So maybe there is some of that going on there. We don't know, but it's possible.
Right.
You know, but, this is a real issue that many people are going to have to face in the dating world, is protecting yourself, protecting other people, sexually transmitted diseases or infections, and navigating that like an adult.
And the best thing that you can do is to be more informed about this, is to gain
We're
more
not
education.
doctors.
We're not doctors. We are not doctors, but to gather more information. And there's tons of resources. Please talk to your own doctor about these things, ways to protect yourself, keep yourself safe. And it's really heartbreaking, even in a relationship of several years, even with someone that you do feel like you trust, things can pop up and things can happen.
Yeah.
People can deceive you, people cannot give you the full picture, and rob your ability to consent. So check on yourself, make sure that you're okay. If there's anything that pops up that you notice is different, check on it. And we are happy that we have this platform that we can talk openly about these things. Don't be afraid to have these conversations with your partner. Now, you have to think about the alternative, is not talking about it and then having to deal with the consequences of not talking about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so stay informed.
I have one last thing for you.
Okay.
What would you say to all the people out there that have gotten some kind of disease or infection and are struggling, and it's impacting their ability to date or how they feel insecure about it?
I would say, first of all, you are not alone. These are things that impact a lot of people, and because we don't talk about it, you feel a lot more isolated. I will also say that there is nothing to be ashamed about here. I know in this video we did talk about diligence and making sure that you're okay yourself. Things like this happen all the time, even to people who are very, very, very careful.
Yeah.
Okay. So, have a lot of self-compassion for yourself, no matter how you contracted whatever it was, and continually stay informed. I would say find a community of people who are also affected by, what you're dealing with. It can help you feel that camaraderie, help you feel more supported, and give you that sense of belonging, that you do have a place where you can talk openly about it and process these feelings. Yes.
There are some dating websites now, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so it doesn't mean that your possibilities for love are completely over. And yes, there's going to be times where it's tough. It's going to be tough to be transparent. You might get responses from other people who maybe aren't as informed, who make certain assumptions about you. And this is why it's important to have that community.
Absolutely.
And I would also say the education piece, really important too. Nowadays, a lot of STIs out there are treatable, and if they're not curable, there's something that can help you cope with it. So you're not alone.
You're not. All right. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. Of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Victoria is also available for Skype coaching.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.